All right. So, welcome again. And you guys, it's awesome that everybody's here today for this webinar. I know it's a nice day out here if you're in Minnesota, and it's summer and Labor Day weekend. So I appreciate you taking time out to come and spend an hour with me here. And I promise to do my best to deliver some great content for you. So this is going to be a culmination of 23 years of experience of personal training and running a personal training business and working in a big gym, of things that I see people do knowingly or unknowingly that keep them from getting the results they want. And hopefully you'll come out of here today with some good nuggets. I always think even if I get one or two nuggets out of some type of presentation or class, it's totally worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started. And like I said, there'll be times during the thing, and there'll be a Q&A session at the end. So a couple other housekeeping tips. Let's just make sure we focus for the hour. I know we're in a day and age of multitasking. We have an iPad open. We have all these other things going on. But make sure you shut your door, turn off other devices. Try to really just be present for this hour so you can get the most out of it. Have your workbook out. I'm going to follow along and kind of cue you so you can take notes. That way you guys will have a better, you'll have a better grasp of, everything we covered here today, and you'll be able to go back and review. I always feel like when I'm doing something and I take notes, I always have do a better job of remembering it and retaining the information. Also, I'm able to go back and review the information. So just please do that and make this your hour. This is all about you. So speaking of you, does this sound like you? Do you feel like you're somebody who starts and stops things a lot and never really kind of gets any traction or sticks to anything? Have you done a lot of things that you don't see results and then you give up? You feel like you're not getting the return on investment for the amount of time and effort you're putting in? Feel like there's just never enough time in the day to do anything. You want to get a workout in, you want to be able to eat right, but you just seem like your time keeps getting sucked up. And then there's also the Google epidemic, where you get on the internet and you see this person's touting this fitness theory, this other person's touting this one, and you just get confused. It's paralysis by analysis. And I get it. There's a lot of different gurus in our field that are selling different ideas, so it can be really confusing to the average person. And then typically I know we probably have a lot of moms on here. You give yourself everything to your kids, your family, keeping your house up, and there's really not a lot of gas left in the tank. Do any of these things sound like you? Does any of these things sound familiar? So I'm going to here's our first interaction piece, because I like having interaction, because I know you guys aren't falling asleep on me. I know it's after lunch, and a lot of times people start to get that afternoon crash. So type a couple things, maybe type something in the box that you feel like is your biggest barrier. If any of those things resonated with you, or how do you feel, what do you feel like you're not getting the results that you want, maybe? And that's, I'm guessing, why you're on this webinar. I'm just going to wait and see if some people can type in and give me some ideas. I just want to make sure I'm on the right track here as the presenter. All right, we got one person saying that they feel like their kids are, number one priority, and that they take up so much of their time. Somebody else saying that they eat on the go a lot, and consistency. Yes, and kids' school activities, and we're coming into that season right now, and it just never seems to end. I know I've got two kids of my own, so yeah, there's a lot of things competing for our time. Definitely trying to find time to make things happen and stick to something. It's really tough. I know maybe some of us back when we didn't have kids or we weren't married, it was all about us, right? But now it's not about us anymore, so we have to really be mindful of the time we do have, the free time we do want to spend it wisely, and that's really why I want you guys to be here. So I'm glad you are here, because you are in the right place, because I feel like we deal with a lot of busy moms and busy professional women that just don't have the time to figure this out on their own. And so what I'm hoping here today is to give you guys some aha moments and enlighten some things that maybe you could be doing or not doing, so you can have some hope that there is hope that you can get good results, and it's not hopeless, like life isn't always going to be like this, and to give you some real practical tools that you can implement. And if you stay till the end, I got a little bonus for you. It's called the How to Be a Bikini Mom in 7 Simple Steps, and then I also have some other bonus reports. So I'll give you the website of how to pick up those freebies at the end. But that is something that I reward people to stay on the end, because a lot of times people will cut out early, or they're checked out and they're multitasking. So if you stay focused to the end, you get a little reward and a prize. I always like to give prizes out. So things that we're going to learn today. A lot of times when we look at weight loss, it's kind of a one-faceted attack or one-pronged attack. You know, sometimes people will try to do it with just doing cardio. Some people will try to just diet. When really there's a lot of different things that you want to be paying attention to. And this is where you're going to want to be in your notebooks. We start taking the notes now. So if you're a note taker and you want to fill in the blanks. So the first thing we're going to really focus on is the foundation at the bottom is mindset. This controls everything. Without dealing with this, we're never going to be able to have the long-term success we desire. You know, really your mindset, you guys, and your focus is really what controls your actions. So we want to make sure that we have things that we are, just like your muscles when you're working out, we want to be working on the mind too, because the mind is going to determine how the rest of everything goes. And a lot of times we don't even think about this part. We just kind of get out there and react to the day, when really this is a key part of your success. And I'm going to give you some examples of things you can do to really work on this piece so that you can stay focused and you can have, you know, have the right mindset to keep going with this thing. Because a lot of times that's the problem, is our mindset's just not right. And we start something and our mind's not programmed right. So therefore we end up quitting or getting distracted pretty quick. Second area we want to address is nutrition. You know, it's something we got to focus on throughout the day. And most people really do truly not understand what it is to eat correctly. You know, that is really pretty common. A lot of times people tell me they eat good, they eat pretty healthy. And then when we actually do an assessment of their food on MyFitnessPal or have them write it down, there's a lot of times lots of gaps and a lot of things that they shouldn't be eating and things that are missing. So, and I always say this because nutrition is really, it's a day-long focus. When you do your exercise piece, you're done with that for the day. You know, you do that, you check it off the box, but nutrition, you got to keep going until you go to bed at night. And so you could undo a great workout and a great exercise day with one nighttime binge meal, you know, and I think everybody knows what I mean. So this is the hardest part. We have social settings. We're trying to be on the go. So this to me is what most people struggle with when it comes to exercise and nutrition. Most people at nutrition is the hardest part, and that's why I rank it number 2. Number 3, the third thing that most women minimize or ignore is strength training. And this should be a higher priority than cardio. I know it's been fed to you that cardio is, you know, the way that women should lose weight. Back from the 80s, when we had all the aerobics classes and everything, has been beaten into our heads by a lot of the exercise equipment stores. But really, strength training it's because it does more to affect fat burning hormones than traditional cardio. Strength training actually does a lot more for you in terms of fat loss than cardio does. And I know that's kind of an aha moment for some people, and you maybe don't believe it. But really, if you do strength training in the format we talk about, that's going to be better to change your overall body composition. And when I say body composition, I mean adding a little bit of lean muscle and losing fat. You know, you can lose weight and lose muscle along with that weight, and you get kind of that skinny fat look. But we're talking about getting that lean tone look that most women say they want. Most women don't come in and tell me they want to be skinny fat. They want to be lean and toned, and that's really what we're talking about, is changing your body composition. And then finally, we got to address cardio. It's at the top of the pyramid here, but there are 2 camps and a lot of misinformation. Both camps think they're right, but the reality is I really believe a combination of the 2 types delivers the best results. We're going to talk about what that looks like. So really, a lot of times this pyramid's inverted for a lot of people, and mindset's probably not even on the pyramid for a lot of people. People really don't think about that as part of a weight loss plan. But this is really what I feel is a good hierarchy for having success with weight loss. I want to tell you a little bit about, some of you guys are on here, I know, that come to my studio or know me, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more what happened in my fitness journey as a fitness business owner back in 2011. So back in 2011, I had some other trainers in there, very good trainers, very knowledgeable, had a great following of clients, but we had this mix of people. We had these real high intense people, CrossFit type men and women. We had boot camp. You know, they would just come in and it was like a Tasmanian devil came in, and they were intense, they were loud. And then I had my other people that were a little more intimidated, didn't want to go to the big box gym, and they just didn't, you know, it didn't mesh well. Well, back in 2011, these 2 trainers I had, they actually decided to tell me they had good news one day, and they said, guess what, we're leaving and we're starting a CrossFit. And I'm like, oh, that's great news. You know, I got all these clients with them, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to replace them. They said, well, we're gonna open this 2 weeks down the two blocks down the road from you. And I was like, it's like somebody had punched me in the gut. I'm like, really, 2 blocks down the road? And needless to say, without kind of mincing words, I was pretty pissed off. You know, I felt like I'd been stabbed in the back. I was angry. I felt like I was betrayed. I thought I was going to lose clients. All the bad emotions come in, fear. You know what they are when all of a sudden you get hit with something like that out of the blue. But luckily, I had a a conference down in Florida with some other people in my field that own fitness businesses like me, and I got around some of my peers that had become good friends over the years, and they got me to look at this thing differently. They said, who do you really want to help, and who are you really good at helping? And it came to me when it really came to me that I really like to work with the busy moms, and they don't want to be CrossFit, they don't want to be around, really loud music and intense, screaming and yelling and all that stuff. And so I got really clear on who I was going to make my studio for and who I was going to target with my programs and my marketing and all that stuff. And that's what we've really done since then. So that was a big changeover for me in terms of, okay, not trying to be the jack of all trades, because there's a lot of, that in the fitness industry doesn't work really well, but really finding a niche. And my niche has been busy moms. So the other part, part is I'm married to a busy mom. This is my wife, Kim. She's probably a replica of a lot of you guys. She's a busy mom. She works outside the home. She's involved in a lot of things at our kids' schools. And I watch her struggle with the whole thing of, I really want to take care of myself, but I feel guilty because the house is a mess and the kids aren't getting any attention. So I watch this struggle with her every day. And it's really, really cool. I'm just going to give her a little plug here, is that she's decided to run her first marathon to do it for charity, which has been really cool to watch. Watch her take better care of herself, because she's had to get those long runs in. And that's like, she doesn't complain about those long runs. They are really tough, but she's doing a better job of eating better, of stretching, of mixing up her workouts, because she has to if she's going to make it to this marathon. But the other cool thing about this is she's really starting, you can tell, her self-confidence, her overall mood, her energy levels, all these things are better since she started taking better care of herself. And I think, honestly, and you can't tell her I said this, but I think she's actually better she's better as a mom and better as a wife, because she feels better about herself, and that's the truth. And I live with the people that I market to, so I never will completely understand, but I understand it pretty well, and so that's why I have a real heart for helping these busy moms, because you busy moms, and you give a lot to the people in your life, and you never really get a lot back a lot of times. So I feel like it's great to give back to you guys. In the way that we do at Pure Vita. So who is Pure Vita and who am I? Some of you guys know who I am, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Like I said, I've been in the fitness industry for 23 years. I started as a personal trainer at the YMCA and then a big box gym. And then I worked, I did some in-home trainings. I did all that stuff. And then I started my own business back in 2005. And a couple things I like to mention about us. I don't like to talk about, I don't like to have our trainers up here showing off our six-pack abs or anything like that. I like to talk about credibility, because I always look at core values of a business. So one of our core values is honesty and integrity, and another one is always giving back to the community. So those are a couple of our core values, and you can write them out, but do you really live them out? So things that we've gotten, we've got this BBB accredited business, meaning that we've had no complaints. The Better Business Bureau checked this out, gave us an A+ rating. Lakeview Bank Legacy Award, that was something we won this year, and that's a big deal in the Lakeville area. That's a bank that does an award to some volunteers and high school seniors every year, and then as well as a business owner that they feel exemplifies good core values in the community. And so we were up against other businesses, and we were voted in to win this award this year. And so that was a big honor for us. We've also been in the Reader's Choice Awards for the Sun Current, which is our local newspaper, puts on a big poll for all the businesses in the area in the South Metro. And we've won the best personal training business year after year after year. So that tells me that we're doing the right things, that people think highly of us and what we do, even though we're not the biggest, fanciest fitness facility, that we feel like people feel good about what we're doing in the community and about their experience with us. So that always feels like, good to me as an internal, as like one of my trainers calls it, a paycheck of the heart, and that we're doing the right things. And I truly believe, I'm a big guy, I'm really into my faith in terms of following my faith. I truly believe this is my ministry. I'm doing what I'm called to do in the community. And so this is just a little bit about Pure Vita Fitness. So we're going to move on, because this isn't about me today, this is about you guys. And I want to do a little more interaction, just so, like I said, I don't want you guys to fall asleep, but I also like to hear from you guys. So I always say, some people come on these things and look for a magic bullet. I always kind of pick on Dr. Oz, because he talks about his cuckoo berry roots and everything that he has that are magically going to make you lose weight. Or there's a magic one program that's like the Yellow Brick Road to Fitness. But what did you guys want to get out of this webinar? So I need some more interaction like I did last time, just to make sure you guys are awake on the other side of the line there. So type in something that you may think. Getting past the weight plateau. That's the name of the seminar. Anything else? You know, a lot of people get to a point where they do lose weight and they get stuck. And time management strategies, that's a different one. Cool. Anything else? I'm going to make sure we're staying on track. Yep. Sounds like a lot of you guys, a couple of you guys are on a balance. And then balance, having life balance, how to balance this all out. So yes, definitely trying to manage. It's like the juggling act, like you saw at the beginning of the presentation. Well, thanks for that input, guys. So we're going to get right into the barriers here, you know, and some of these barriers you might know what they are. It might not make sense, but the first barrier I'm going to talk about is the driving into the fitness fog over and over again. And what is the fitness fog? I think a lot of people are in the fitness fog and they don't even realize it. Is the fitness fog is really just not being clear on where you want to go and what you want to do. A lot of people come into our studio and the thing they say is they want to get in shape, they want to get toned, and they really don't know what that looks like. They can't really define what that is. So it's kind of like driving in a fog. You really can't see where you're going, and you don't have a really good, clear picture. And so most people have not defined, and here's where the notes in the notebook. I just want to remind you guys, if you're filling in the blanks, purpose is number one. And I talk about purpose at number one because this is what is going to drive you to follow through and do the things you need to do to get the results you want. So your purpose, a lot of times, people are really kind of shallow on this. They say, well, I just want to feel better. I want to look better. Well, obviously, everybody wants to feel better and look better. But you got to go deeper than that. What does that get you? So what does that get you for your quality of life? And I'm going to give you an example. I had a woman years ago come in, and I still remember this. It was right before summer, and she was near tears. And I always think when I ask this question when we're in a consultation, if they're near tears, if they're crying, that's always a good thing because I know it's an emotional thing because your purpose should be emotional. And she told me that she had this great cabin up north and she wasn't using it, and she was going up to it, but she wasn't using it to its fullest extent. Her family would go up and enjoy themselves, but she would sit in this cabin and not go outside because she felt so horrible about what kind of physical shape she was in. She was so self-conscious about it, and she felt that if she could have some success working out, she would regain her self-confidence. She'd feel better about herself enough so that she could enjoy her cabin and have that higher quality of life. And a lot of people are like this. You know, I look at like they're limiting their life because of the way they look or the way they feel. Another person told me that they felt like their kids were passing them by. They're growing up and they're watching them grow up, and they were too tired to really spend any quality time with them because they were so out of shape. They would come home from work and lay on the couch, and they just felt like they were failing as a parent and that they needed to do something, or pretty soon their kids were going to be out of the house and they were never going to have those good quality memories of doing things with them because of where they were at. So those are just a couple examples, but those are things that hit people's emotions and get them stirred up. And those are things that are going to make you get up and go to the gym when it's dark and cold outside. Those are things that are going to make you stick to your nutrition plan when somebody's shoving 3 different good-looking desserts in your face. So you got to define that purpose, and you got to write it out and have it visible where you can see it. The other thing is goals. You know, where do you want to go? So when you take a trip, you always have a destination. You plug something into your GPS, right? So you got to give yourself a destination. Your brain's just like a GPS. So a SMART goal, specific. You know, what does it mean? Do you want to get to a certain clothing size? Do you want to run a 5K? Do you want to get a body fat percentage? Do you want to lift a certain amount of weight? Be specific, and then also have it be measurable, something you can measure. We can't improve what we can't track. And then attainable. We got to be realistic with ourselves. You know, I had a woman years ago who had struggled with obesity her whole life, being over 300 pounds much of her life, and she wanted to look like Janet Jackson. When Janet Jackson was in really good physical shape, she was like really into fitness. She had a picture of Janet Jackson on her fridge and said, that's what I want to look like, and it just wasn't realistic. It was just kind of setting her up for a big letdown. So you want to make sure it's something that's going to challenge you, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, you know. And I'd love to be an NFL linebacker, but I'm 45 and I'm past my prime. Not going to happen, you know. So we got to be realistic with what the genetics that God gave us and where we're at in life and what our schedule allows us. So make it a reach goal, but don't make it an out of reach goal. Number 3 is commitment. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? How committed and motivated are you to do something and take the action and do the things you need to do? And I would say if you're an 8 or better, you're what's called all in. Most people don't put a 10 when I ask them this question, but an 8 to me tells me that you're willing to put in enough consistent effort to make progress towards your goal. If you're a 4 or 5, you got to ask yourself, why am I ranking myself that? Maybe you have something big on your plate that needs to come off your plate first. I know sometimes I've seen people want to get started, but they have a huge deadline at work and it's a massive project. And once they get that heavy object off their plate, there's some room there and they can move forward. Sometimes that's why you're 4 or 5, and sometimes dealing with a medical issue or something like that. So you got to get yourself to at least an 8, and you want to be honest with yourself on this if you're going to move forward. So you have to define these 3 things. And, you know, how do we get clear, though, on this, and how do we follow through? So here's some of that time management stuff that somebody had mentioned. So what I have is called a Rainmaker book, and this is my Rainmaker book. I took a picture of it. It's beat up, it's worn, but that's okay. I want it to look like that because, it's being used. I use it every week, and I use it every day. And this Rainmaker book, you're going to want to have 3 things. You're going to want to have your 90-day goals. Now, sometimes your ultimate goal for fitness or weight loss or other things is going to take more than 90 days. If you've got to lose 50 pounds or more, it's going to take you more than 90 days. But break that into 90 days. What could be your 90-day goal towards that long-term goal? You know, maybe it's 20 pounds or something like that. But put that in the front of this Rainmaker book. You want to define what that is in a SMART goal format. Then you want to break that down another step further to weekly goals. You know, what are you going to do every week to work towards that goal? And then daily goals and actions. And that's number 3. And so each week you're going to want to identify your non-negotiables. So your non-negotiables are going to be things that you have to do. It might be like, I have to go to work. I have to, I have to do something at my kid's school. I have to work out. I have to have mindset, spiritual time. That's always one of my non-negotiables, so I get my mind right in the morning. I can't talk about mindset if I'm not doing it myself. So it's going to vary for everybody, but a non-negotiable should be something that is that's something that you would not take out of your day unless there was a major emergency to take it out of your day. So decide what your non-negotiables are. There's no right or wrong answer. This is your deal. After that, each week you want to identify your non-negotiables, your big rocks, and your action steps. So your big rocks are different than your non-negotiables. Your big rocks are going to be the top 3 things you want to do for that week. Okay, what are the top 3 things you want to accomplish that are going to mean the most? They're going to have the most purpose for you. An example for me this past week, even though it's not really something I'm really passionate about, is that we have a big a mortgage refi going right now, and we're trying to get all the stuff together. And everybody who's been to try to apply for a loan or a refinance knows that you have to fax and email over tons and tons of papers, and it gets kind of crazy. So I just put that as a big rock this week because I just knew it was going to be a lot of busy work and a lot of extra work. And so I just wanted to get it done so I could get onto my true big rock. So I just made it a big rock this week. So just identify what those top 3 things are for your week, and then also identify the top 3 big rocks for each day, and then the action steps during each day, and then prioritize those action steps. Those action steps, the top ones should be related to your big rocks for the day. The bottom ones should be little errands to run. I know I'm looking at mine right now, and one of my big action steps today was to do a follow-up replay email of this webinar because this is a big project I've been working on. But then at the bottom of that is I got to go to the license bureau and change over a title on a car I just got. So that's something that, I want to get it done, but it's not super important, but it's at the bottom of my action list thing. And then what I would do is put a tab for each day of the week in this binder and have a page for each of these days. That's what I do. So I have Monday laid out. I have Tuesday, Thursday, on. And I have each day has my big rocks, my non-negotiables, my action steps in order. And it's been very, very helpful. I do this on Friday, and just at the end of the week, because then I know I'm kind of dialed in for the week, and I plug in time in my Google Calendar when I'm going to work on my action steps and when I'm going to do my non-negotiables. Now, I'll tell you what, it takes you maybe an extra hour a week to do this, but it's so much nicer going into the weekend knowing that I've kind of mapped out my week and I've got a plan going into the week versus Sunday night you're kind of in panic mode or reactive mode once you get into the week. So doesn't mean you're going to follow it perfect every time, but it's good to have some type of plan. And when you've got time blocked for those things that really, really matter and that really fill you up and that make the biggest difference, they're going to get more likely they're going to get done than if you don't do that. If you just try to fit them in, we always hear that fit them in. It's kind of like when you have a party and somebody says, I'm going to try to be there. It never happens. So this is something that I use that I think is really effective, and it's simple. Just get a binder, get some sheets. You can email me if you want me to send you my action sheets if you want to see what I use or make your own. But this helps you with getting clear and making time for the things that are important, not just fitness, but everything else, because I think it all works together. It should all work together. Barrier 2, you know, we got to make sure we're not doing wimpy, boring, monotonous cardio. This is barrier 2. So this is most of the workouts I see are too easy, and you need both HIIT, or that's the acronym for high intensity interval training, and traditional cardio. You need both. Like I said at the beginning, there's 2 camps on this. And the best way to get results from cardio is to start out with your high intensity interval training and follow with 20 to 30 minutes of steady state cardio. And we do this to prevent the reabsorption of fatty acids in the bloodstream. So there has been a lot of controversy saying, well, what's the right type? And there's people, all of a sudden, high intensity cardio showed up on the scene, and everybody said that's the best way to work out. Well, it is really effective because it does a couple things. When you do high intensity cardio, it actually gets your heart rate up so high that it keeps your heart rate and your metabolism revved up well after the workout's over. You're burning more calories after workout than not just during the workout. And it's kind of an afterburn effect that keeps going. There's been studies that have said 14 hours. There's been studies that have said 48 hours. It probably really depends on the person, but what we do know is much more so than traditional cardio, high-intensity cardio, and we're talking about intervals where you're working hard for 30 to 60 seconds and then trying to recover at a moderate for another 30 to 60 seconds. You're basically doing a one-for-one interval. That's a typical HIIT cardio. I mean, other examples would be like a spinning class or mountain biking, or sometimes you're doing like a boot camp, you know, but you could be running and jogging on a treadmill. There's all kinds of examples. But what this does is, like I said, it creates an afterburn effect, but also drives up important hormones to help you burn fat, which are human growth hormone and catecholamines. And those hormones help you to burn fat, help your body to go in and get fat from storage and actually put it into the bloodstream to be burned off. The problem can be, though, is when you do that and you kick that fat into the bloodstream, it can get reabsorbed if it all doesn't get burned off. So that's where the steady state comes in at the end. So when you do the high intensity, it'll help do a good job of pulling some of that fat out of storage and burning a lot of calories, not just during but after the workout, but some of that fat that's in the bloodstream, the fatty acids, can get reabsorbed. So if you have time after a high intensity workout, do your steady state afterwards, and that'll burn off any fatty acids that are hanging out in the bloodstream. And I would recommend doing this 2 to 3, or probably 2 times a week, because I would say when we get into metabolic strength training, I don't want you to do too much high intensity training, because it can actually create a lot of hormonal stress in the body if you do it too much. It's kind of like medicine. You got to take it in the right dose. So I would recommend 2 of these a week, where you're actually, if it's a separate cardio session, and then follow, if you've got time, with 20 to 30 minutes of steady state. And that's even like right now, you could go and do like sprinting hills if you wanted to be outside, and then after you're done with the hills, you could do a power walk for 20, 30 minutes because it's so nice outside. So these just, it doesn't have to be a high pounding thing on a machine. It could be swinging kettlebells like you see the gals doing in the picture here, swinging kettlebells and doing burpees, and then afterwards, you know, jump on your bike or jump on an elliptical for 20, 30 minutes. There's a million different ways you can do this. A good rule of thumb, though, is you want to do this, like I said, in a combination. Do this combination twice per week, and don't forget to change it up or you'll hit a plateau. I was talking to a gal the other day, and she said that she wasn't losing weight. She wanted to lose 20 pounds. She was stuck at 6 pounds. And I started to ask her questions about what she was doing. And upon further investigation, she said, basically, I've been doing the same elliptical and walking workouts since February. Well, this was August. So you got to change it up. Your body gets very efficient, and it adapts very, very quickly to what you're doing. So if you're running 3 miles every day, guess what? 4 to 6 weeks later, your body's using less calories to run that 3 miles than it did at the beginning of that 4-week period. And a good rule of thumb is to be inefficient. It forces your body to burn more calories. If you've ever all of a sudden jumped in a pool after you've been running, you thought you were in good cardio shape, and all of a sudden you do like a running or a swimming workout, which I did this a month ago. We were out on the St. Croix River here, and I thought I'd swim. I used to be a lifeguard. I thought, oh, this won't be too bad. You know, I kind of thought I'm still a pretty good swimmer. 15 minutes into it, I was dying, and it's just because I am inefficient at swimming. I haven't been swimming that much, and so it forced my body to work a lot harder, and therefore it expends more calories. So that's one of the best things I can tell you about fat loss, is sometimes we gravitate to the kind of like a security blanket of cardio. We do the same cardio over and over again, expect a different result. So make sure you're changing it up every 4 to 6 weeks. Barrier 3, inconsistent nutrition. People like to use the term good or bad, and I don't like to use that. I just like to say inconsistent. That's kind of what I see a lot, because I see some people, they eat pretty healthy some days, and then then they might have another day behind it that isn't so healthy, or even they eat pretty healthy most of the day, and they do that one or two things every day that just kind of throws them off. And this would include these three things if you're following along in the workbook: spiking your blood sugar, dieting mentality, and reactive versus proactive with your nutrition. Those are the top three things I see. And a lot of times we see a diet, or I'm on this diet, or I'm doing the keto diet, or I'm doing the Whole30. But really, the reality is we need to do something that is long-term rather than a quick fix. And we're in a country full of quick fixes. So we're going to talk about the three ways that we get this area in check. There's three ways I think really you can start off with to have some success. So number one is we got to minimize blood sugar spikes. This is a big rock. Most people do not truly understand this. They nod their head and say they do, but it doesn't register. The problem with spiking your blood sugar, now most people say, well, yeah, I know sugar's bad. They know, like, yeah, if I'm drinking pop or if I'm getting one of those drinks at Caribou or Starbucks, I know there's sugar. I know candy has sugar, but not just sugar spikes blood sugar, but processed foods. And when I say processed foods, I'm talking about the foods that have more than one ingredient in there. So instead of having a natural sweet potato, I get the instant mashed potatoes out of the box. And if you look at the box, there's not just one ingredient. It's not just potatoes in there. Or instead of having like regular steel-cut oatmeal, I'm getting the flavored packets of oatmeal. And if you look at those things, there's a lot of sugar and added flavoring in there that adds a lot of extra ingredients in there. So that would typically be processed, what we call processed food. Pretty much anything that cooks up instant, stuff that's really quick to cook or on the go from a box or can, is generally going to be lower in nutritional quality, and is going to act just like sugar in the bloodstream. And especially things like pretzels, crackers, chips, those type of things, they break down so quick in your system that your body, it's actually a lot faster than like a sugar that would come from an apple. So sugar from natural sources actually doesn't absorb as quick and doesn't spike your blood sugar as non-sugar from processed foods. So number one thing is we got to really pull back on those processed foods, those comfort foods, those quick on-the-go foods. The longer something cooks, the longer it takes for your body to break down. That's a good rule of thumb. So a steel-cut oats, which we know takes longer to cook on the stovetop, versus a 1-minute quick instant oats is going to be two totally different types of oatmeal, because that instant oats, because it cooks quick, it breaks down quick in the blood sugar, goes up really fast, and your body releases insulin. Now the problem here, how does this relate to weight, is when we're spiking blood sugar, we are going to release a lot of insulin to control that blood sugar. And when we release lots of insulin, what it does is it does this insulin resistance 101 thing here. So as I eat a carbohydrate, what should really happen is, if it's a good carbohydrate, my body's working normal, it should make blood glucose, which is basically the sugar in your blood, and go to the left and produce energy. It should go to the muscle and the liver, be stored for use for energy. Now, what happens if we're eating those processed foods and we're cranking up our insulin over time? You'll see it kind of shift over to the right, and you see that orange button on the right. It produces a lot of insulin. When we do that, our muscle cells, the doorways to our muscle cells, basically close, and now we can't get that sugar into the muscle and the liver cells anymore, because our body becomes what's called insulin resistant. It becomes tolerant of insulin. There's too much of it in the system, kind of like you hear about, like an alcoholic becomes tolerant to alcohol. Same thing here. We lose our sensitivity, and now we have all this sugar, and we've got to put it somewhere. Well, guess where it starts to go? As you see, it shifts into fat storage, and you see that on the right, fat burning stops. When we're in this position doing this, we cannot burn fat, and we start to put on fat around the midsection, around the upper back. These are signs that we have insulin resistance. And this is where all of a sudden we eat a certain way, and we're able to get the weight off and control the weight, and all of a sudden, maybe in our 30s, something shifts over, and all of a sudden the weight starts packing on, and we blame our age and our metabolism. But this is a lot of times really what's going on here, is now we are in insulin resistance, and our body cannot, it's putting our carbohydrates in storage versus putting them in the wrong kind of storage, I should say, versus putting them in the energy use storage. And so we start packing on the weight, and even if we exercise and we diet and we keep our calories under control, we cannot lose weight. And this kind of blows the whole thing open with calories in, calories out, because I see people that don't eat a lot of calories, and they're doing this on a day-to-day basis, and they're still putting on weight and not able to lose weight. And so we really want to start to attack this problem right here. And we do it, like I said, by not eating processed foods. But the other thing is we start to include in our meals protein, 20 to 30 grams at a meal for women. And that's about, if you're looking at an ounce of meat, that's about 7 grams of protein. So about 3 to 4 ounces of meat, about maybe 3 to 4, 3 eggs or so. A lot of times I just see women especially don't eat enough protein along with their carbohydrates. And you want to have that protein roughly at about a 1-to-1 gram for gram ratio as the carbohydrates. So that way we can control the blood sugar, because the protein does help control the blood sugar. Other things that help control the blood sugar is good fats. So your avocados, your nuts, your natural peanut butters, even like your saturated fats like coconut oil, fat from lean beef and salmon. Also, you've got your olive oil and your olives. So these are a lot of things you should be eating along with your protein and with your carbohydrates, as well as fiber. Fiber will also help control this as well. So making sure we have a nice balanced meal, and then the exercise piece will actually work with this too as well, because it'll actually help you improve your insulin sensitivity along with the eating right. But we really have to get on top of this, and that's why I'm spending so much time on this slide. So number 2 is we're talking about the dieter mentality, the all or none rule. Study after study shows that restrictive eating leads to binge eating. So if we're so restrictive and we're not allowing ourselves to, have some things that we might term as bad or treats or whatever, we're going to end up like a dam. We're going to break. All right. So it's typically this all or nothing mentality. And if we have one little thing, it sets us off for the whole day. So we have to get to this 80-20 rule. And what the 80-20 rule looks like is, I would say 5 or 6 days out of the week, you stay on track, and you allow yourself 1 or 2 days to really just kind of enjoy a nice night out with your spouse or significant other or some friends, and not get worked up about it. This is a lot of a mental thing. On the top right there was one of our cooking classes, and they actually made some really cool recipes with, believe it or not, kale. A lot of the women in there said they never would have ate kale before that, but they made some really tasty recipes. And you can actually cook healthy and have stuff actually taste good, believe it or not. And so, cooking your food, real important, but then also letting yourself have some breaks. And actually, it's a good thing to have. We call it a free day, where you go out and you just not worry about eating perfect and trying to follow a diet, and just try to stay on track for 5 or 6 days out of the week and get consistent versus perfect. Progress, not perfection. And it never works that way. And sometimes people are either on a diet or they're off the grid and they just don't care. And really, we got to find that happy medium in between. That, and actually having a high calorie day once a week, a higher calorie day, is actually good for your metabolism. When you eat restrictive calories for too long, your metabolism actually slows down. You go into kind of a starvation mode, and you start to lower levels of your thyroid and your leptin, which are 2 hormones that help you to continue to burn fat. So even back in the days when we were doing fitness shows, we would have high calorie days or cheat days, because it kind of reignites your metabolism. You just don't want to go too crazy with it, but allow yourself to have a life. You don't want to be that person standing in the corner with your cooler or your bag of chicken, at a neighborhood party. Don't be that weird person. So allow yourself a little bit of leeway, be realistic, and adopt this 80-20 rule for the long term. The last thing I want to do is, consistency, not perfection. Use the 80-20 rule. That's number 2 for your workbook followers. And then number 3 is we're going to utilize core supplementation, because most people are deficient in 1 or more nutrients. And this ensures you have all your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals, in optimal dosages. This is important because they function like a spark plug for your metabolism. And so if you think about carbs, proteins, and fats are kind of like fuel, water's like oil, vitamins and minerals, omega-3s, these actually work like spark plugs. You don't have to be a car mechanic to know that spark plugs are important to make an engine run right. If you've ever had a spark plug out, the engine will run, but it'll sputter and pop, and it's not very efficient. So very important that we have everything in optimal dosages. Now, you want to get some of it from your food. I really do recommend eating fruits and vegetables, eating healthy foods to get your natural vitamins and minerals, but they use the supplements as fillers to help fill in gaps. And, they help you get energy from your food. They help you keep your immune system strong. They help your digestive system. Omega-3s, fish oils, actually also what they do is they help improve insulin sensitivity. They help that sugar get across the cell wall into the muscle and the liver cells. They help make that happen better, and they help improve blood flow and circulation throughout the body, which is going to help with fat loss. So very important. Make sure, though, you have a USP grade supplement. That just means that it's a third-party company that certifies the supplement is made to the same specifications as a pharmaceutical, and that is a voluntary thing in the supplement industry. A lot of people don't know that, but USP is a nonprofit organization that does test these products for purity, consistency, and that they dissolve within 30 minutes. So the things you're getting are going to have consistency from pill to pill, and they're actually going to be absorbed. What's on the labels is in the bottle, and it's actually going to be absorbed into your system. And that's important because not all companies do that. So if you're using a product, make sure that does have that USP grade on it. Number 4, rudderless ship strength programs. Metabolic strength training is important, and this is where a lot of people, they get kind of confused, and they think doing like 5-pound dumbbells and light little bands is strength training. We're talking about getting strong, and metabolic strength training utilizes big movements that release important hormones such as testosterone and growth hormone. Now, these are big hormones that help us to add lean mass, which helps improve our metabolism, because the more lean mass we have, the better our metabolism, and they also help us to burn fat. So they are really important, and the only way you get that is from big movements. So movements like deadlifts, presses, squats, kettlebell swings, these work a lot of muscle groups in one movement, and you typically are going to use more weight for these, and therefore they're going to release more of these hormones. Now, when you do compound movements in a circuit format with little or no rest between exercises, you drive up these fat-burning hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. In addition, those are in addition to the testosterone and growth hormones. So metabolic strength training really has the most bang for the buck, and this is where I would, if I only had 3 days a week to work out, I would just do metabolic strength training every day, because you do get a cardio component in this, so you're going to also create an afterburn effect like you did with the cardio. So you're going to get all those hormonal things going on, plus the afterburn effect. And then finally, with it is important to track and progress your program to ensure you're adapting. This is a big mistake I see, is a lot of people just kind of go by the fly. And the only way to keep your body adapting and getting better is you have to keep increasing the stress on it, or it has no reason to adapt. So if you show up at a class and you're doing chest presses with 20 pounds one week and you don't write it down, the next week you show up and you go, oh, I can't remember what I used, I'll just grab 15. You've actually gotten backwards. You've given your body less of an adaptation. And so it's important to track this. And we use a lot of this in our group training. We use a progressive overload principle. And this is where we, like, say you start out with 20 pounds on those chest presses. The first week you do 3 sets of 8. The next week you might go 3 sets of 10. The next week you might go 3 sets of 12 with 20 pounds. The fourth week you go 3 sets of 8, but guess what? You've moved up to 25 pounds. So when you move the weight up, we drop the reps down, we start the process all over again. So that's just a really easy way. But once again, going way back to the beginning, you can't improve what you can't track. So getting stronger should be a goal for everybody, and making improvements. And even sometimes not even just getting stronger. Maybe you're doing 2 sets one week or 3 sets the next, but having some type of progression and improvement built into the program, not just doing the same thing week after week and not really paying attention to what weights you use, because you'll never know if you're getting better. And this is a big problem. And a lot of times I see people, I say rudderless ship, they show up at the health club and they walk in and they want to have great results, but they walk in, jump on the treadmill maybe for 10, 15, 20 minutes, do a couple bicep curls, a couple chest presses on the machine, maybe do the inner thigh machine, kind of talk to somebody about, some gossip or something, and then they roll out of there and they wonder why their body's not changing. It's crazy. Or they just kind of wander around and just do whatever. They don't really have a plan. They just seem to make the workout up as it goes along, or they have their favorite 4 machines they do over and over again. This just doesn't work. So my recommendation is for this strength training is to do it 3 times a week on non-consecutive days. So I like to do total body workouts because you work more muscle groups, you burn more calories, and then those in-between days, so this can be cardio or rest days, because when you strength train, you actually tear muscle up, and you're tearing it up purposely, but then the body's actually saying, okay, I'm gonna build those muscles back up and repair them bigger and better and stronger in the in-between days. Now, when you hear bigger, you might kind of say, oh, I don't want to get bigger. You're not going to get bigger, because women typically have way less testosterone than men, but you do want to add muscle if you want to improve your metabolism and you want to look more toned, and it's going to be at a significantly lower weight than guys. And, muscle is, like I said, metabolic. It requires calories. Fat does not. And then one final point, just like the cardio, one final point is your program should change every 4 to 6 weeks. Another thing is same thing with the cardio, they gravitate to the same old thing. I remember back in the day when I worked at the Northwest Club, it was the Nautilus circuit over and over and over again. Or they would do the same exercise, the same week, day after day, week after week, year after year. I just wanted to shoot myself sometimes watching this, because it's like, my gosh, it's just so limiting. And it's kind of like your tires in your car. You want to rotate your tires. So make sure you're giving your body new stimulus and new programs to adapt to. This is a big, big part of your success. All right, here's where you guys all turn on me here and you don't like me. Frequent alcohol consumption. I get it. Like I said, I live with a person that likes to drink wine, and at the end of the day, every once in a while, I see that wine glass come out because it's been a stressful day, and the house is a mess. Work didn't go well. The kids are crabby. Here comes the wine glass, and I get it. Sometimes it's a social thing, but the problem with regular alcohol consumption is it disrupts our metabolism and stresses our liver, which is a key metabolic organ in our body. So when we drink alcohol, we produce something called acetate. Acetate is toxic to the body. When our body's in a toxic mode, it cannot burn fat. And so if we're doing that on a daily basis, along with maybe spiking our blood sugar, we're really disrupting our body's own hormonal environment to burn fat. And we know hormones is a big part. Women know hormones are very powerful and very, they can create all kinds of havoc in the body. But if there's certain hormonal things in our body we can't control, maybe if you're going through menopause or something like that, we can't always control that, but there are things we can control. And by spiking our blood sugar and drinking alcohol, those are two things that really mess up our fat-burning hormones and really pretty much stifle them. And so really kind of kicking this back is important. And there's a couple other reasons why alcohol, I think, adds to weight gain or it keeps you from losing weight. Because also it lowers testosterone. Now, I know I talked about testosterone, and women don't really think about themselves as having testosterone, but it is a key player in terms of improving body composition. So if we lower that hormone, that's not going to work for us. It also, it makes us eat more calories because it lowers inhibitions. They had a study in Denmark and a study in Canada where they actually had people drink and then they tracked their food intake, and both of those studies showed significantly increased caloric intake. So those are a couple things. The other thing is that there are calories in alcohol, and they're different calories than carbs, proteins, and fats. And because alcohol is absorbed right through the stomach, whereas other nutrients typically they're going to go through all the way into the small intestine to get absorbed. Because it is absorbed quicker into the bloodstream, it'll actually kind of bud in line in front of fat and carbohydrates, which you don't want. So your body's using those alcohol calories instead of using those fat calories, it could be for energy. So it kind of buds to the front of the line. So just some reasons why. Now, I don't want to take things away and say never, ever drink alcohol, but work to get to this point. Like I said, the free day, work to get it to one time a week max. Maybe it's a happy hour with your girlfriends, maybe it's a night out with your spouse, whatever, and just kind of weigh out the risk to benefits. If you really want to lose the body fat, I would say this is one of the big rocks for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people come in, they're eating right, they're exercising, but this is the thing that's holding them back, is having those couple drinks a night. And I've seen time after time when people cut this back, they don't cut it out, they see results. So if you're doing this on a nightly basis, just try to wean yourself up. You don't have to go from 7 to 1, but I've even seen people, if they get from 7 to 3 times a week, they start to see things happen. And when you start to see things happen, guess what? You do more of what's working. So this would be my other point for number 5. And number 6, we can't forget about this piece, stress and sleep. These are two that we don't always think about when it comes to weight loss, but if we don't sleep, it suppresses growth hormone. And you guys remember, growth hormone is an important hormone to help us burn fat. It also raises up cortisol, our stress hormone, and ghrelin. And ghrelin is our I'm hungry hormone. So guess what? This typically is going to make us eat more calories because it kills our body's ability to burn fat. And ghrelin, they've done study after study linking being overweight to not getting enough sleep. And most adults need about 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep a night. I know this is my challenge too. We all, if you're type A or if you're busy, you're trying to get things done. A lot of times it's 11 o'clock and you got to get up at 5, and it's like, where did the night go? But this is a big player when it comes to hormones. Stress also raises cortisol, which blocks fat burning. So your body doesn't really understand if you're running 5 minutes late to pick your kid up from soccer practice and you're stressed out because you're running late, you're running behind for the day. It doesn't really notice. Your nervous system doesn't really differentiate than that. Or let's say you're running from a grizzly bear in the woods, or you're driving in an ice storm. You're in what's called the fight or flight, which is your body either thinks you're having to fight or run away, and it's cranking up cortisol to deal with that stress. And a lot of us operate in that for too much of the day. And when we're doing that, we produce too much cortisol. We all need cortisol in our body, but we're producing excessive amounts of cortisol. And cortisol blocks fat burning, and it also it contributes to gaining weight around the midsection. It also it inhibits your body's ability to use protein. So it actually will use protein from your body. It'll actually help strip muscle away to use as immediate energy because it thinks you're in a fight or a flight. So we have to control stress. So we really need to have 3 things in place. Number 1, we want to have a time management strategy. And I know somebody had mentioned that. So that Rainmaker book or some version of that, some kind of planning ahead of time to help manage your time. And I would say build in some buffer time. Buffer time is like an hour where you say, I'm going to use this hour. I'm going to use this hour to catch up on whatever needs to be caught up on. Sometimes we schedule ourselves down to the last minute, but give yourself some margin and give yourself some buffer time when you're putting together a schedule for the week, because you know something's going to go wrong. Murphy's going to rear his ugly head, and you're going to have to need some makeup time. So build in that makeup or buffer time. Plan your week out. You'll be less stressed. It's not like it's always going to work like clockwork. Things are going to go wrong, but at least you have a plan and you're proactive. Number 2, coping strategies. So there's 2 parts to the nervous system. There's the fight or flight, I mentioned, the sympathetic, and there's the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. Too often we're in the fight or flight, so we need to switch over to the parasympathetic. So find things that get you into a calming state. It doesn't mean it has to be an hour massage, because a lot of times you don't have time for that, and a lot of times people can't afford to do that all every day. But maybe it's a 10-minute meditation. Maybe it's a yoga tape or a yoga class you go to a couple times a week. Maybe it's listening to certain kinds of music. Maybe it's just taking a walk with your dog. But find things that are calming strategies, because what that'll do, it'll flip the switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic. It'll calm your body down and help you regulate that cortisol. Last but not least, sleep routine development. So sleep routine, take the screens away, no iPads, no computers, quit watching TV in bed. Create a routine that's consistent and right around the same time during the day, going to bed at the same time and getting up around the same time. Get your body into a rhythm. I know this is another one that can be tough too, especially if you have young kids that come in the room or need your attention at night, but try to get yourself into a better routine for sleep, because sleep is a big part of where your body releases a lot of that human growth hormone, which helps your body to burn the body fat. And this is where, as we get older and we got more stress, they play off each other. So we definitely want to pay attention to these parts here. So I'm going to stop talking for a second and just see did we get any aha moments or anything that maybe that reached out to you. Also in your workbook, there's 3 things that you want to implement. So I'm going to give you time to write those 3 things down. And if there is an aha moment in here, share it with us now. Just maybe something that from those 6 barriers and solutions that maybe that you forgot about or that you never thought of doing, or just let us know if you saw something there that really kind of spoke to you. Anybody got something there? All right, the couple drinks, not having a couple drinks every night. That's always kind of an aha moment, because a lot of times you'll hear that red wine is healthy. Lifting heavier weights, breaking down the goals. Good. Yeah, a lot of times we have a goal in front of us too, is it's just this big goal, but we haven't broken it down to smaller parts. And prioritizing daily actions. Awesome. Yeah, and I know there's a couple mindset things there too, and I always kind of think that's people don't really think about that part as important, but that mindset work is huge for your results. So this is how fitness really is. A lot of times we hold ourselves when we start something, we think we have to be like batting 1,000 when we get out there, but fitness is really 2 steps forward, 1 step back, meaning that you're going to have good days, you're going to hit your workout, you're going to eat right, and then something's going to go wrong. You're going to get stressed out, miss a workout because maybe a kid got sick, or you get stressed out and you blow your eating and you have a binge. Just take comfort in the fact that fitness is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's how it is for everybody. Even us fitness people that work in the industry, people sometimes think we have it all together, but there's going to be good days and bad days, bad weeks and good weeks. I mean, but the important thing is like somebody said at the beginning, is getting consistent and not perfect. And here's a few people I can talk about. Sherry came to me last year. She had an injury, so she was really jacked up from a car accident, had a lot of inflammation, a lot of pain, but all she had time to do was metabolic strength training. So this is where I said, if you only have 3 days a week to work out, this is what I want you to do. So she did the metabolic strength training, worked on her nutrition, did a lot of the things we talked about here, getting the sugar and getting a lot of the processed foods out. And this is what happened. She dropped 22 pounds. She felt great. Despite having an injury and having to work around that, she made really, really good progress. People at her work were commenting. She was able to help her husband do a paver project. She was able to carry firewood up at their campgrounds when they went camping this summer. So just a great success story. This is Tracy. Some of you guys might recognize that. She works for me now. She was a runner, so she ran all the time and just thought, God, as much as I run, I should be more lean. And I'm not seeing results. And she came in because she had some injuries. And we worked with her on the injuries. But then she got serious about adding in, nutrition, really getting serious about her nutrition and her strength training. She lost about 25 pounds, and she dropped 20 minutes off her half marathon time, and it wasn't from adding more running. It was from really balancing out her routine. Alicia, busy mom, 4 kids, had a back injury, kind of threw into a funk. She was eating a lot of sugar. On the left-hand side there, she's not pregnant. She actually just had gone off the grid because her doctor said you shouldn't move, you should baby her back. Well, we got her strong again. She got back to doing things she loves, like snowboarding and water skiing, because she lives on a lake. And she got her kids involved in her fitness. She dropped 40 pounds, and she worked out at home. She had strength training at home. She progressively got more strong, and then used a lot of this metabolic strength training, because she didn't have time with 4 kids and all their activities. She couldn't be in the gym all the time. So Michelle, this is one of my favorite ones. She was at her worst. She was a Pilates teacher. She had a fitness background, and she was at her worst because she had hurt her back on the left there, at the worst shape of her life in her late 40s. Worked with us for a year, and I know this is an extreme goal, but a year later she's on stage doing fitness shows. So this is what's possible with with the right kind of training and eating. You can make great progress. And she by no means spent hours and hours on the treadmill. She did a lot of strength training. She worked on her nutrition, and she did some cardio. But it was really a balance of these things we just talked about. So these are some proof that what we're talking about actually does work. So I know we went through a lot of stuff. It can feel like drinking from a fire hose. And that's okay. That's why I had you write down just your top 3 things, just like your big rocks. Just pick 3 things that you can take from the seminar and use. And so don't feel bad about this. I'll actually put a replay up if you want to watch it again. But that's why I think it's important to take notes and break this all down. The important thing is to do something. Take something you learned from here today and do it. Don't overanalyze it. There's always that paralysis by analysis. And if you do that, you sit there and think too much. Guess what? It's not going to get done. So pick, 1 to 3 things from this seminar that you're going to implement. As I always say, education without implementation is pointless. And don't think you have to do everything in here. You might even, break it into phases and just start with something new. Do one thing new that you're not doing, or get rid of something that you shouldn't be doing. And you kind of say, well, maybe how do I dial this all in? This sounds like a lot of things. Well, you really got 3 choices here. Number 1 is to do nothing. You could just say, you know what, this is too much. I'm just going to sit on the couch and eat my chips and watch Young and the Restless or whatever. That's probably not the one I'd recommend. Number 2, you might be a lone ranger. You might be a good implementer. You say, you know what, I got some great stuff here. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing things right. I just needed some new ideas, and I'm off and I'm going. Great. I know a lot of lone rangers that do great with the information. Then there's option 3, saying, I need some help. I like all this information. It sounds good, but I don't know how to put it all together in a workable format and fit it into what I'm already doing. So with that, we're going to kind of introduce, we got this 6-week rapid fat loss program. It's a 6-week mapped out structured plan to give yourself literally a metabolic makeover. It's to address all the things that we talked about in here and put it into a neat little package. And so there's different parts to this. So one of the things you get is you get 2 of our best top metabolic strength training programs that we've used for, like the women you saw in the pictures there. They're complete with training outlines, so you get your sets, reps, your outlines, your progressions, how you're going to progress each of these. And then I put some videos together of how to do the exercises in here with tips on how to do them, so you can actually watch me do the exercise so you know exactly how you do them. Because there are pictures in the guide, but sometimes pictures aren't enough. And this is just, there's a 2-week phase and there's a 4-week phase. There's 2 different workouts in here to really kind of prime the hormones, get the metabolism going. You also get 5 fat blasting express cardio workouts. Now, I know a lot of us are going back to school, and when we go back to school, we're not going to have as much time. We may not be able to always get out of the house to work out. So a lot of these can be done in the home with minimal equipment, and they're high-intensity workouts with not a lot of impact on the joints. So if you have joint issues, you can be rest assured you can do these. Next is you're going to have a 3-cycle Lean for Life program. It's grocery lists, recipe book, meal plan templates, and 12 rules for awesome nutrition. So this is just taking the best of our nutrition. We broke it into 3 phases, and you can sit in one phase, the second phase for a while before moving on to the 3rd phase. You can just kind of decide what works for you, but I feel like this is a really good stuff to help really attack your nutrition piece and get it consistent to the point where your hormones are working with you versus against you. And it's got a lot of stuff on the grocery list. There's some great recipes in there, so if you like to cook with your family. So we try to make this really inclusive. And then we've got this Lean and Limber Flexibility Mobility program. And this is really where we give you a dynamic warm-up to prepare your body to move, and a cool-down program to get your body into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system, to help you get into relaxed state. So we're getting those cortisol levels down, and you're getting your body to recover after those workouts, and we're preventing injuries. A lot of us sit during the day for work, and then we're sitting, we create imbalances in the body, so then when we try to do an intense workout, we're setting ourselves up for an injury. And as you saw, a lot of those women that came to see us, what threw them off was an injury, a back injury, a couple back injuries were in there. So, injuries are one of the biggest motivation killers. Plus, if you take better care of your flexibility, mobility, you're going to be able to get more out of your exercise. An example would be is if you get more mobile and flexible in your ankles and calves, you can squat deeper. And when you squat deeper, you access your inner thighs and your butt. When you squat high, above 90 degrees, you're just primarily working your quadriceps on the front. You're only getting part of your lower body. And I know you ladies want to work your hips and your inner thighs. So getting a deeper squat is the only way you're going to get that is from good mobility and flexibility. Finally, the best part, right? You get me as your coach. We're going to do a weekly online classes starting in mid-September with Q&A sessions, and we'll have a little lesson every week. Weekly tips and coaching emails to keep you laser focused, a private Facebook group for accountability and support, and a recipe book with the meal plans, and I talked about that, and then online support. And those of you that work with me know I'm pretty good about getting back to you guys. So if you have questions about the program and how to implement it, you can let me know, and I will get back to you to answer those questions, or I'll have one of my staff do that. So we have a staff of 7 people on our at our studio. Now, there's a couple different options for this program. If you're not working with anybody and you're not in the area, or you just don't want to come to the studio, you can also do or you have a gym membership, you can do the online coaching version. This is where you get the Rapid Fat Loss Guide. We send you out. It's in a PDF. It has the Lean for Life nutrition program, the metabolic strength programs, the limber and lean flexibility programs. You're going to get an email with all kinds of links and PDFs and things like that. So I would save that email because it has all this stuff kind of in one thing. Your 5 fat blasting cardio workouts will be there. Your online supports, you're going to get your emails, and then you'll be able to come to a meeting like this. And if you can't make it, we'll actually record it and put it up as a replay. But we would put this together. This whole thing would be $349, and we're doing it for $97 if you're not a client. If you're a current client of ours and you say, you know what, I like working with you guys, but I want to add this into my current regimen, we're going to give you 50% off because you're already a client. If you want to add this in, maybe you're coming to our group training or one-on-one training, you want to add this on top of what you're doing with us. So you could get it for 50% off, because I think we have a couple current clients on here. So that's, if you go to the takeoffyourfat.com site, you can get that. If you're not a current client and you're in the Lakeville, Minnesota area, we do have an in-studio investment one. This is where you get everything we just talked about. The only difference is you're going to get unlimited group and cardio fitness classes for 6 weeks, nutrition accountability, and you get some face-to-face time with our trainers. So the clients that are with us right now know what this is like, but if you're not a client, this is a great way for you to come in as a new client and see what we're all about, and do this as a kickoff, 6-week kickoff, and do this as kind of just a jump start. I always think fat loss comes in sprints, and that just means that, you can't sprint all year round, but you can do a sprint and make some progress, and then you might level off a little bit and then do another sprint. And this is definitely a 6-week sprint, so this is just another option. So you just go to the takeoffyourfat.com site if you want to get any of these, whether you're a client or a new client or somebody who's looking at working with us. Those are your options. So if you want to take some of this stuff and you want to just have somebody help you dial it in, those are 3 good options for you right now that we have up for today. And then after today, the price goes up a little bit. So if you're a quick action taker, you get a little bit of a bonus. Now, our guarantee behind everything we do guarantee everything we do. And just basically what we always say is it's a partnership. Is we put our stuff together, but you got to do the work. And so if you're not doing the work, we can't guarantee your results. So you have to have a way, if you're not working directly with us and working with the trainer, if you're doing online, the online program, you need to document your workouts and you need to track your nutrition. And the great easy way to do that is MyFitnessPal. If you haven't already got that app, myfitnesspal.com. But if you can show us that you're actually following the nutrition plan and you're doing the workouts consistently and you have that documented and you don't get results, we'd always give you your money back. We always believe that what we have works if you follow the plan. So our job is that we'll put the guarantee up, but then you just have to follow the plan and just show us proof that you followed the plan. And I think that's a pretty fair guarantee. And it does work. I believe it works. Otherwise, I wouldn't put this out there. And anybody who believes in their product or their services really should do this. I'm a man of my word here, so I'm putting this up here. This is my bikinimoms.com VIPrespond.com. This is our free gifts, and there's also some bonus reports there. So if you want to go to that site, you can get those free reports. If you want those gifts for staying on till the end, it looks like everybody stayed till the end, which I appreciate. So I'm just going to leave that up here for another 10 seconds. And then we're going to jump into our Q&A time. So if people have some questions, I want you to put them up in the chat box, and I will do my best to answer them. If you have to jump off and you have stuff going on, I totally understand. You can always email me if you have any more questions from this webinar. So without further ado, I want to just start up a little bit of Q&A and see if any people have any questions on the program or anything. And you can either put your chats up so everyone can see you for private. Some people have been doing private, some have been doing everyone. So I am open for questions. Okay, one of the questions I got is, what if I'm a beginner on this program and I can't do all the exercises? Well, the exercises we put in this program are pretty basic, and you can do versions of each. And I think we did a pretty good job with the videos. And you can always modify. If it starts with 3 sets of something, you can actually start with 2 sets of something. So everything's modifiable. If you're starting from ground zero, you definitely, going from ground zero to 2 sets versus 3 sets is going to be a big change. So you can always, that's where you can reach out to the online support to ask us if you have a specific concern about an injury or your fitness level. We can definitely look at the program and make some recommendations on that. So there truly is no one size fits all. So what sleep is tough? And we got one from Janine here. And sleep is tough with so much on my mind. So, what I recommend, Janine, for sleep? I recommend reading a book. There's something to be said about reading a book versus reading an iPad, is because when you read a book, you're mentally more engaged and you're focused on that thing. And I find that reading at night does a better job than, and reading from an actual hardcover book. And this day we have Kindles, we have iPads, but that actually seems to do a good job to calm my mind. Also, what I've done is I've actually gone on iTunes and downloaded some relaxation and meditation things. You can find them in your iTunes store. And I found they're really good about calming me down, because I do have nights like that. And I will put those in if I'm just really amped up about something. And that really does help me kind of center my mind, is to put some kind of relaxing, relaxation thing in. And it does really, I just make sure the person has a soothing voice, because sometimes their voice can be not so soothing. But that would be my recommendation, is reading and then trying to download some of those things if you're feeling like your mind's racing at night, because they do kind of talk you through it to get your mind centered. Other questions? Anybody else? All right. What is this other one here? It says, how will I know how to do how will I know what to do on this program? It's a private message here. So easy question, because we actually lay it out for you with pictures, and we tell you week by week what you should do. Plus we have each program broken down into different parts on the video, which helps you kind of break the program into different parts. So like, for instance, the lactic deplete workout. And the lactic deplete workout, there's 2 sections. There's deplete and there's the lactic. So we break down each of those sections into separate videos. We try to keep the videos short, like 4 minutes or less, so you can really kind of watch them over and over again until you get what you're supposed to be doing. We also put a lot in the emails and the support and in the guide to really try to make it as turnkey and easy as possible. Anyone else? I see everybody's on here. Nobody has any other questions. I must have really nailed it as a presenter. Let's see. What if I want to don't want to join a gym and don't have any equipment? Do I have to spend a bunch of money? Here's the thing. No. I wouldn't go to Second Wind and buy one of those $3,000 pieces of equipment. What I would do is I would get some dumbbells, maybe 5s, 10s, 12s, 15s, and then maybe a 20, 25 pounds, maybe a single 25 pound and a single 30 pound. That would get you started. And then maybe some rubber tubing and a physio ball. That might cost you maybe $100 to $150, but it's a lot cheaper than buying even just one piece of cardio equipment or one of those monstrosities that you have to assemble in your basement. A lot of our clients do stuff at our studio, and they do stuff in their home gym, and their home gyms that's just what they are. There's some free weights, there's some rubber tubing, and a physio ball, and maybe a foam roller. Minimal investment there, but you can get a lot out of those things. And maybe if you're like kettlebells like I do, you could throw some of those in too. But you could kind of slowly build it out into a gym. As you got stronger, you could just add to the dumbbells as you got stronger up down the road. So no, you don't have to spend a ton of money, and you don't have to go buy some crazy machine to do this. As you see in our videos, I should have mentioned we have a home and a gym version of each workout. I didn't mention that. So we do have both versions. So, not everybody needs to go to gym to do this. So you have that option. You can do the home version or the gym version. Both are going to get you great results. All right. Anybody else? Last call for questions. Anybody else got anything else to add into the chat box here? Make sure I didn't miss any. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Janine, for the nice compliments. All right, guys. Well, I am going to wrap this up, and this is going to be recorded if you want to watch it again. But you can, if you want to go to the site, takeoffyourfat.com. If any of those options sound really good to you, you'll go to the site. It'll just review what you get with the options, and then that'll take you to when you click on the link, it'll take you to one payment site, and it'll give you the different packages, and you can go right on. It's our Zen Planner sign up store, and you can buy it right online. Once I see you've clicked over on one of those options, I'll send you the materials. If you're doing the in-studio version, if you're somebody who's maybe looking at being a client and coming into our studio, we definitely want to do a consultation. And if I see you click on that, I will set you up with a consultation to make sure I get you with the right trainer for you, both personality and schedule-wise. But other than that, I just want to thank you guys for being on. And, I just want to end with one thing that I think is important to say. There's a lot of people out there that like to complain about where they're at. Maybe they're not getting the results they want, or, anything in life. You notice there's people out there that complain but never do anything. Well, this group here, you guys are here. It's a beautiful afternoon. We're on a holiday weekend. You're here to learn. And it tells me you guys are action takers and doers. So that's to be commended, because a lot of people just complain about, things that aren't right in their life or things that aren't working. And you took the time to be here today, so I appreciate it. And I hope you got something great out of this. And you guys have an awesome weekend, and feel free to reach out if you have questions on any of the programs. And like I said, if you want to do one of them, and just hit the site, and once you've hit the appropriate thing, I will make sure we will reach out to you and send you the appropriate materials. And if you're doing something, like I said, in studio, we will make sure and get you set up for a consultation with myself or one of our staff. So have a great Labor Day weekend for all you guys. And thanks again for being awesome and being on this seminar.